Hi everyone, welcome to episode 30 of Franklin Fiber, my knitting, spinning, fiber-related podcast. I'm Julie, also known as Lovey Lamb on Instagram and on Ravelry. If you've watched before, welcome back, and if it's your first time watching, then hi. I'm glad that you stopped by. Sorry, I'm a little sluggish today. It's my day off, and so far I've spent it napping. And that's great. And I feel I'm in a good mood, but a little just foggy today. But that just means it's probably going to be a quick episode. But I do have things that I wanted to show you, progress that I've been making. So let's just get right onto that, shall we? On my needles. I do have a sweater on my needles. I showed it last week. It is the Low Tide Ripples pattern. And that is a pattern, a pay-for pattern from Twist Collective. It's a seamless top-down pullover with some cables. And I'm not showing you that because the only knitting that has been done on that this week has been negative knitting. I think I've done more negative knitting on that sweater than positive knitting at this point. But depending on how observant you are, and you'd have to be more observant than me, watching last week's episode, you may have seen that there was an error in the cables about 6 rows back. And I thought about dropping down. I actually started dropping down in each of the cabled sections to fix those cables. But it was an error that I made on every cable going around on that row, which is, what did I say it was? 16 cables altogether. So as I started the process of dropping down and fixing one of these cables and then realizing that I would have to do it 15 more times, I just decided to go ahead, go backwards, and start over from the point where I had made that error. So that's what's happening right now. I haven't actually started to make positive progress on it yet. So anyway, that's why I'm not showing it to you. It's a lovely sweater. And you'll see it next week, promise. So what I've been doing instead is filling my time with a lovely little sock. I know I mentioned that I was going to start the second one of these. These are just DK weight toe-up socks and a vanilla sock out of a Barocco. It's an acrylic blend, not wool. And I thought about, I was going to cast the second one of these on, but it was just like, I don't know, I didn't feel like it. I needed something new. So I cast on a new pair of socks. This is the yarn. It is an opal. I finished a pair of socks out of the opal recently for my Halloween socks, and I really enjoyed it. It's, their color is just usually kind of crazy and kind of out of left field, and sometimes that's exactly what you want. So anyway, this is Opal, and it's their Little Prince series, their Kleine Prinz. Let me see if the colorway, I forgot the tag, it's in the other room. The colorway is called 7763. I have it in my Ravelry notes, which is a bluish, purplish, gold pattern. I don't remember what character this was inspired by, if any, but it's cool. Okay, and the socks themselves are awesome. They're so cool and insane. I'm loving them. Cat hair, story of my life. I have stock in 3M lint rollers at this point. The pattern is called Winterscape Socks. It's a free pattern by Kay Redding. It's really very simple. I didn't feel like doing my standard vanilla sock, but I didn't want to have to do anything too taxing on my brain, and also something that would work with this very, very, very busy yarn. So it's just got some shallow ribbing at the top, and then a little bit of some pearl welting in there, and a garter flap, or a heel flap. I don't always want to say garter. Heel flap, with a gusset. That's it. But I really like how, just like the placement of things is working in this pattern. Like these welts kind of ended up being right at one color section, more or less. And I don't know, I like the way that the heel did this cool thing. See that? That's neat. Or how where the heel turned ended up being right where the color shifted too. I don't know, little things like that, they make me happy. Anyway, I just finished the gusset, so I'm on the stockinette normal part. The only modification I made was to make the cuff an inch longer than the pattern called for, which honestly I kind of regret. Looks like it's gonna be a little too long. I don't like, I had found, oh, a slight divergence here, sorry. I found finally the bag of all of my old knitted garments, which was missing, which was very sad. It was a tragedy to me because as the weather was getting colder, I had 0 hand knit socks that I hadn't made in the past couple of months, and no hand knit sweaters, and no shawls that weren't new shawls. Anyway, I found the bag and I pulled out a pair of hand knit socks that had previously been missing. And they're great and I love wearing them, but it was a pair that I had made, I don't know why, but I had made the cuff kind of short. And it ended up just being like a little bunchy because it wouldn't stay up because they were too short, and I don't know, I wasn't happy with it. So that's why I went ahead and made this an extra inch longer, thinking I'll never make that mistake again, and I may have overcompensated. But that's okay. It also means there's more of this craziness patterning to look at in my sock. So yeah, they're weird, they're wild, they're kind of like, so far on this podcast I've made Doctor Who socks, which I was also referring to as dirty clown socks, and these ones are kind of like harlequin socks. They remind me of like a harlequin or a court jester. So that's me, the court jester. Okay, so that's the only active thing I'm going to show you right now on the needles. I do have a finished project. I showed you. Guess what I'm picking off? Cat hair. I have a cat that just, maybe all cats are attracted to wool and want to make beds out of them. I was blocking a shawl and yesterday because I found also in this bag of knitted garments was a whole bag of things that were done with the knitting but needed finishing. So I've been working on just picking things up and weaving in ends every once in a while. So I'll show you those things as they are finished as well. But I had to lock the cat out of the bedroom while it was blocking in there because he just it was like a magnet and he couldn't pull himself away from it. Anytime there's something knitted lying around, he will just walk over to it and lay down on it, regardless of if it's sopping wet too. I can't imagine it's comfortable. But anyway, that's why I was picking cat hair off of this, which is the hat, the sock head hat that I showed you was in progress last week. This is a pattern by Kelly McClure. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. Super, super simple. And I made it out of some hand-dyed yarn. Did I ever write down what this was? Okay, it's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. Is the blend. It's a fingering weight. So it would be a good yarn to use for socks. I tried doing that several times. I didn't like how the pooling was working with the various patterns that I tried. So I gave up. And now it's a hat. I will put it on for you. Oops. You know, it's okay. I don't know. I'm not like wild about this hat, but it's warm and I wore it a couple of times. I don't like the way that so obviously this has some serious flashing going on, and in the crown decreases, it kind of went into a bullseye pattern. I have no idea if you're able to see that or hear me. Let me take this off. In the crown decreases, it's switched over to a bullseye kind of patterning. And I would love it if the whole hat looked like that. And I would love it if the crown decreases had more flashing. But as a combo, I'm not really sure if I'm sold. It is like a bullseye. Anyway, it is what it is. That's the hat. That's my socket hat. That's my finished object this week. And I guess I'll just move on from it. It's a knitting meh. Not a knitting win, not a knitting fail. Just a meh. Okay, let's move on to something that actually makes me happy, which is spinning. Showed you last week that I purchased some spinning fiber. This is, try not to crinkle too much. This is organic Polworth wool top, and it is dyed by 222 Handspun. This is 4 ounces. Don't have a colorway name for you. Sorry. But it's Polworth wool from the Falkland Islands, 22 micron. So I guess it's Falkland as well as being Polworth, because Falkland wool just refers to the region where it's from, not a specific breed, I believe. Anyway, this is what it looks like. It's beautiful. It is just like rainbow unicorn 90s tie-dye Lisa Frank happiness. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And it's so soft. And you're not even it's not even showing up. There's like spots where it's really just neon. Like actually fluorescent dyes were used. And like there's one. But it's not really showing up. That yellow spot in the midst of the purples in the middle. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Here's how it's spinning up. I'm taking my time with this one on purpose because I really love it and I love spinning it. So I'll spin wool long draw, which gives you a little less control over the fiber, especially over the thickness of the single that you're getting. But for me, it's faster, and I end up with this like very lofty end product. But mostly, it's faster. So I can spin 4 ounces of fiber in like 2 nights if I don't feel like knitting, and it's no big deal. But on this one, I really wanted to take my time. I wanted to end up with something that was more even than in thickness than other yarns that I usually have, other handspun that I end up with. And I wanted to get something finer than what I usually end up with. So here's how it's spinning. Is that focusing? You can see some of the colors that are in there. This is not even like the full range of colors. All right, so I'm not spinning it super duper mega thin. You know what I mean? Like, let me compare that with my opal sock yarn that I already showed you, which is attached to my socks. So is this working? I'm sorry, I'm trying to balance all this stuff and not drop any of it. I'm failing, guys. Alright, and I have my whole flyer rather than just taking the bobbin off because I was in a rush. Okay. I don't even know if this is like a useful thing to do for all the effort it is. But that is the thickness of my single on top, and that is the opal on the bottom. So it's like, it's thinner than a thin fingering, but it's going to be a 2-ply, I think. So whatever, I just wanted to give you a reference point. I think that I'm going to, so I was initially, obviously I did not split this into separate segments. I'm spinning the entire thing onto one bobbin. This is just straight from the hank of fiber that I bought. I initially thought that I was going to Navajo ply it. I do not want to two-ply this yarn, mostly because it is so colorful, like a traditional two-ply, excuse me. I didn't want to ply this as I have been doing with other hand spun lately, where I spin it all onto one bobbin, wind it onto a cake, and then spin from the two ends of the cake. I didn't want to do that because this is there's so many colors going on in this, and there are really quick color changes and places where like only one segment of the fiber is dyed. You know, like right here, it's blue on the front and purple on the back. And so if I split this into strips, it is like it's 100% certain that those two strips would not have the same color repeats, and in fact might look quite different. And if I spun end to end, if I spun it from the cake like I've been doing, there would be so many different colors overlapping, so many barber pole colors, that I think it would really, really, really look quite muddled, especially because there are a lot of contrasting colors in here, like purple next to yellow, orange and blue, reds and greens, and while those are visually appealing next to each other, sometimes when you mix them together they come out looking brown. And so I was worried that was really just going to be a muddied mess, which is not what I want to happen from this. So all this to say, I've decided to either Navajo ply this, which I'm not really thrilled about. I don't like Navajo plying that much. You end up with these little bumps. Navajo plying is also known as chain plying, where basically you're making a huge crochet chain type. I guess imagine a single crochet chain that you're making with your hands, holding the loop together, pulling the fiber through it, and what that does is you end up with 3 strands next to each other that then ply together, and then you do that again. But everywhere that chain ends, you end up with a bump where the fibers double back over itself. Anyway, it doesn't make a perfectly smooth yarn. You have a yarn that has feels like it has little knots in it or something. And so I'm not really a fan of that technique. And also it would just, it would be a 3-ply instead of a 2-ply. And I want something that is a little finer as my end result for this. So, okay, I've gone off on a very long tangent now. I think what I'm going to do is spin some white merino that I have, just plain white merino. I've got 8 ounces of it that I bought at a fiber festival a long time ago, and ply that with this. So it'll be a 2-ply where 1 ply is white and the other ply is this. And I think that it would work for this because this is such a crazy, crazy colorful fiber that if I'm going to tone anything down with white, this is going to work. And also it'll kind of play up the pastels, and there's no other color in the world that would work with this to ply it with. So, so that's the plan. So basically that means that I would end up with 8 ounces of fiber in the final product instead of just this 4. This is going to be a long project. It's not going to be done quickly, and that's fine. But just giving you fair warning. You're going to be seeing more of this in the future, and probably for longer than you care. Okay, now that I've talked for far too long, and demonstrated just how tired I am by rambling just how much I have, I'm going to call this show quits in just a minute. I did want to mention one thing, and that is that this coming weekend, today is November 19th, Wednesday, and so this weekend, which is the weekend of the 21st, in Seagirt, New Jersey, for anyone who lives in the Monmouth County area, my husband and I are setting up at a craft fair, the Seagirt Craft Fair. It's a pretty big event in this part of Monmouth County anyway. It's pretty well known. We'll be setting up and selling our artisan chocolate and our the weavings that we have, the weavings that are made by the Cooperative of Women in Guatemala who we work with. So they've sent us a bunch of new products that we haven't tried to sell anywhere before, and so we're setting up at the Secret Craft Fair. And I just wanted to say that, Saturday and Sunday. Anyone who wants to stop by is more than welcome. I'd love to see anyone who lives in the area. So that was just one quick little thing. I don't mean to use this as an advertising platform, but I do like to say if I'm going to be somewhere in public where I can possibly meet anyone who's a fan of the show, I'll just put out that little announcement. I hope that doesn't offend anyone. All right, I think that's good enough for today. Thank you so much for watching again. Tune in next week where I promise I will have drank more coffee and just have more progress on my knitting to show you as well. So until next week, everyone, stay crafty. Bye.